my God.
Yo, we live and you laughing at
Oh,
you
hold
laughing
on.
at
Hold on.
We live.
God. I hate Instagram. I hate Instagram.
J-Lo and Ben Affleck call a divorce. It's a wrap, y'all.
I'm sorry. The news
Grand
just came
opening,
on, literally.
Grand closing. First of all, when you break up with someone, there's a reason why you break up. Like, nobody gets together with someone, breaks up, waits 20 years, gets back together, gets married, just to get divorced. It's like, oh my God, damn.
We broke up and then we
Yeah,
got
but we didn't wait
together,
13
got
years later.
Maybe we should. Why is there a streak right there?
I don't know. Is that your screen?
Yep.
Okay, we cleaned it up.
There you go.
Do you have the questions that we're going to be answering today?
Oh my God. Yes, I do. Hello, everybody. Sorry. The J-Lo news
What's good, everyone? It's
literally
Dr. Nee,
broke
and
right before
this is Dr.
we
Renee.
hit record.
It is 11:33 here in Ghana, and we're going to get started on this live, y'all. So
Yes.
This is Docs Outside the Box. This is our August live recording. I'm tired, and I spent the entire day today operating and getting bumped by all these different cases. Yes, you get bumped by cases even in Ghana. So we are on a medical mission with international healthcare volunteers. And what I normally do as a general surgeon here is I do hernias, and then I do more hernias. And then after that, I do more hernias. And then when I get sick and tired of that, I do more hernias. Okay. So the type of hernias that we see like the Ghana hernias, which are the inguinal hernias, where you see a lot of people who do like hard labor. We're talking about people who get on the boats in the morning time and they go fishing and they pull those nets and they develop these really large groin hernias. We got women who have incisional hernias or ventral hernias because they've gotten C-sections, or maybe they've gotten some other type of abdominal surgery and, you know, things didn't come back together the way they should and they got a big hernia that we need to fix. We take care of goiters. You know, sometimes people are not getting iodine in their salt, you know what I'm saying? And they get these big goiters. What else do I do?
More hernias.
And more hernias after that. No trauma at all. This is pure general surgeon. This is what the community needs or the entire city needs. We're in Kumasi, which is the second largest city in Ghana. Mm-hmm. Dr. Renee is here with me. So she is watching the kids, but also at the same time doing some troubleshooting with the medical mission if need be. And that's how we're making it work.
Yeah, that is. So
who's on here right now?
So right now I can see Instagram. I can see who's on Instagram. So if you are joining us, first of all, thank you for coming on in. Hey, Dad Squatch. Hey, you guys are incredible. Miss the Darko family.
We are incredible. Thank you.
And cocky, apparently.
Thank you for recognizing. It's only cocky if you're not confident.
Yeah, okay. Well, that doesn't actually make sense. But okay, so
Noah Lyles did it.
Anyway.
Shout out to the Olympics. Did y'all watch the Olympic trials, track and field this year?
Trials?
Did I say trials? Track and field, Olympics. Well, anyway.
Olympics.
From the Olympic trials to the Olympics, track and field was amazing. It basically was NBA basketball, but the Olympic basketball was great. Shout out to the USA men's. That was must-see TV. The women's basketball was must-see TV also. But let me tell you something right now. Track and field was amazing. You watched it. Mm-hmm. I watched it. I haven't been this hyped about United States track and field since the 90s. And I haven't really paid attention since early 2000s. And this year, it was amazing. Sydney with the 400-meter hurdles. She needs to stop playing and just do the open 400. Noah Lyles to Letsile Teboho, who is, I think, the MVP of the Olympics, running the 200, the 100, and the 4x4. And don't sleep. You got somebody who's running 9.8 something seconds in a 100 and still split a 43.03 in a 400. That is nuts. His range is really crazy. I don't think anybody else right now in the world.
Now you're talking track speech.
Oh yeah, track. I love track. It's amazing. The 800, the 1500. Two American distance is back. Actually, it's on the scene. It never really arrived, so it's here now, and it's really good to see the American distance runners like really do well in the finals. So it's good to see. So that's my thing about USA track and field.
For me, the best part of the Olympics was Reagan, the kangaroo hopping breakdancer. Okay, now that right there was pure entertainment, pure entertainment. I don't know what was going on. Knee is bunny hopping, kangaroo hopping. So I don't know what's going on out there, but I can tell you this. I did watch some of the men's breakdancing, and that was actually very, like, for real entertaining. The women's left a lot to be desired. Definitely having grown up in the 80s, in the era of dancing, breaking to electric boogaloo, haven't seen.
It's not the same.
I mean, it's just the women, especially, I think, definitely did not do it justice. I'm sorry. I don't care what anybody says. Right. It's a talent show. It's the Olympics, right? So I thought that was very strange to call it
dance should be in the Olympics, but they be making up stuff all the time.
Yeah.
Dance should not be in the Olympics.
So, I wonder if they're going to bring ballet to the Olympics next year.
It's not in breakdancing is not listed as a sport for Los Angeles, but they could change their mind. But they said that sometimes every now and then they will put in a sport to try it out to see how it goes. A sport.
It's not a sport.
And that was trash. That right there.
There's no way to standardize it because there's just no way to standardize it. Right? Like, I mean, I don't know.
But you can say that about most sports that have a judge.
I guess.
That you can't standardize. But I think clearly.
But you could tell,
I think clearly dance is not a sport. Right? Like dance is considered a dancing competition, and that's it. And just keep it at that.
Anyway.
But that dancer from Australia, and she has a PhD in breakdancing. For me, I'm like,
what is a PhD in breakdancing? That's making up your own major, first of all. Like, that doesn't exist, right? Like, does that exist?
Well,
a PhD in breakdancing?
In Australia, it does. But
apparently.
In Australia, it does.
Go out to the outback and just look at a bunch of kangaroos, see what they do. And then next you know, you got your dissertation for a PhD in breakdancing.
Well, in Australia, it does. But I thought that she was trolling, to be honest with you. I felt like she was trying to like mock
me too.
And do things that I wasn't feeling that at all.
Yes.
But for me, in general, the breakdancing competition. No.
Yeah, that was a thumbs down. Yeah. So Dasquatch says, we all know you can still sprint, Doc. Looking out for that Darkos Speed 2028 Olympics. The old man heat. Oh, Lord. He's showing his calf.
Look at that calf. Look at that calf.
Showing his calf.
Look at that calf. Let me tell you something.
What is going on
Let me say something right there. You see that calf? Fast twitch. Fast twitch.
Okay.
Fast twitch. Fast twitch.
Sass XOXO says that she said it was disgraceful. The hip hop, whatever, breakdancing, whatever she was doing was disgraceful. Shout out to Lorenzo Foster. What's up, Lorenzo? Been knowing you since 20 years. But wait, before we get started, so we are here in Ghana. And one of the things that we have talked about on this show previously is that we got an apartment. We got a condo in Ghana. And I think it's worth it to kind of just let people know we're going to do something a little bit longer on it in another episode, but to just talk about our first impressions of finally getting this is actually the first place that we will own and live in together, right? And so we finalized our payment, just a couple of weeks before we got to Ghana. So what's your first impressions on our apartment?
I really like it. We've never owned anything together except for our kids.
Well, we own a rental property.
Yeah.
And a business.
Yeah, that's true.
So to live in, I mean, together. So why are you taking so long to answer?
Well, I gotta think about it, but I do think that like I'm happy to have a place there because that gives me more incentive to keep going back to go see family. I have a place to stay. I don't have to worry about staying with family. Not to say that family is not. I don't want to stay with family. That's not the case at all. It's just that having your own place means that you have a stake in the game. And you have that much more reason to kind of keep going back to something, right? So for me, that's the significance there. Is like I really finally have roots there in Ghana or here in Ghana. So that was a big deal for me. Within the apartment and all that stuff, we can talk about that later and stuff. It's great. The apartment is nice and stuff. But I don't like apartment living, I can tell you right now.
I could already like apartment living.
No, I prefer being in a house. I prefer having a backyard. I prefer having the kids being able to like play on the grass and go have a
run
free and stuff. And I just feel really cramped in, but I think at this point right now it serves the needs, which is it's a place to stay for a certain period of time, a finite period of time. I think that once we make the decision to come back and stay here, if that day occurs, we would have to get a bigger place and get a backyard and stuff.
I hear more money being spent.
Yeah.
Well, I will tell you my first impressions. So I really do love the apartment. I would like a single unit house. That would be nice. But I can't say that I don't like apartment living. I think for what the building offers, especially with the pool, they'll be coming with a playground soon and things like that. I think that suits the needs, for the kids, especially since primarily, they're going to be, in the apartment home with me. So I can really just take them out and go where we need to go for them to be able to have fun and get out of the apartment every now and then. So it's a 2-bedroom apartment, pretty spacious, has a balcony. Me, please stop.
I'm listening to you.
Please stop. No, you're not practicing breakdancing right now. And what you're doing ain't practicing breakdancing right now. But it, what else was I saying? Oh, yes. Like I said, the building has a pool. They're going to be building a playground soon. They're actually building a second phase to that building. So the complex is going to be even bigger. And when we're not in town, we'll be using it hopefully as an investment property for rentals, either Airbnb or a long rental. So that'll be very interesting to kind of see how that unfolds. But we'll do like a little video introduction so you guys can just kind of see what the apartment looks like. We're still furnishing it. That's the other thing. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun just kind of, moving in, if you will. So, all right, let's get to our Q&A. Let's get to our Q&A. Lorenzo. All right. So our Q&A is from Joshua Strayer today. He says, I'm a resident physician finishing my transition year in Allentown, Pennsylvania, and moving to Philadelphia in June to start my anesthesiology residency. After this match week, however, so this was submitted a while ago, I found myself in quite an interesting position. I matched into an advanced anesthesia program without the need to repeat my PGY 1 year. I didn't know that was a thing.
I didn't either.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. Therefore, I will have from June 2024 until June 2025 as a year outside of residency. Okay, so he started, I guess he did his intern year and then matched, and they were like, yeah, you don't need to do PGY1 over. Come next year.
Yeah.
Interesting. My hope for this year is to explore a few, sorry, I lost my space. My hope this
So
year.
rather than let him continue as a PGY2, they just said you're gonna have to wait until a PGY2 year opens up.
Right.
So
So that class currently must be full.
Yeah.
So he would be applying for he would basically be accepted for the other year. Anyway, so he says, hold on, I lost my space. This is a long one. Anyway, he basically wants to know what he can do during this year. What would be your thought about that?
He wants to know what to do for a year.
Yeah, for a year.
Oof.
So he's thinking about podcasting. So he says, with not being in residency this coming academic year, I thought that one of the best things I could do would be to see medical podcasting from the other side, be able to get back and continue to learn throughout the year. And I guess he works with Core IM.
Yeah, it's a podcast.
Okay, with Core IM.
Well, I'll tell you right now, one thing that I'm super excited about that you didn't mention was trying to do something to like give you a heads up or a head start on year 2. Which is
gotta keep my skills up.
Keep your there is who cares? Like, you're gonna have a year off, just enjoy your year. Whatever it is that you're doing, jumping out of planes, doing podcasting, whatever it is, trust me, you have the rest of your life to do and work on your craft as an anesthesiologist. And taking 1 year off to go and enjoy yourself and do what you want to do, trust me, you will always remember that 1 year as a time when you got to do things that you just always wanted to do.
Yeah.
Passing on that and saying, well, I want to get my skills, even better so that you can impress attendings who are not even paying attention during your second year, I don't think that's really going to make a difference. So kudos to you for recognizing that.
Yeah.
What to do, man. Whatever it is, I would say, do the things that that you're not going to get a chance to do, over the next several years, right? So, it's going to be hard as a resident to really dedicate your time to really doing something that you can literally put your entire self into. So whatever that passion may be, if it's a podcast, if it's content creation, or maybe it's doing something like volunteering, Teach America, or whatever it may be. Just know that what you do, and if you really have a lot of fun and if you really throw yourself into this, do it in something that you may not get a chance to do again, basically what I'm saying. You may not have that opportunity again. In my opinion, if I had a chance to do it, whatever it is, I'd try to make a little bit of some money, right? So that I don't have to take any more additional loans. I don't think you need a full-time job, but you need something that's going to help you, kind of keep the lights on, pay bills, get something to eat. Just something that'll help to make sure that you don't have to increase your student loan burden. That's what I would do.
Well, here's my question, because that was my immediate thought was, okay, well, if you have this PGY 1 year off, then what is happening financially, right? And do the loans stop? We don't know if he does have loans, but if let's make the assumption, right, that he has loans, then do the loan payments stop? Because technically he's not in training, right? He's not in training.
That's a good question, actually. Yeah.
Right. So can he actually afford?
Someone write down. What do you think?
Yeah.
If you take a year off and you're not training, do you go into some type of grace or deferment period when you're actually not continuing your education anymore? Can you apply for some type of hardship or some type of pause in your student loans while you're taking time away? I don't know that, because I haven't read. I'm starting not to read these questions anymore because I just want to see how I react without seeing these questions. So I'm very interested in that.
Yeah. So MD Money Mentor says he's trying to make some money. LOL. Exactly. Yeah. Try to make that money. Try to make that cash.
So what do you think, MD Money? What do you think? You
So
think can you apply for something if you decide to if you're not moving towards your residency, if you pause, can you pause your
your
loan
student loan
payments?
debt, right? Your student loan
That's a good
payments.
question.
Yeah, I mean, so I mean, assuming that you can't just, pause your student loan payments, um, if indeed he has loans, I would definitely say that whatever he's doing, that he has to make sure that he has some sort of
He
income.
says, I think you can apply for forbearance.
Right. So you can't really stop them. You can just
So the question is it worth it just to make minimal payments versus go into forbearance?
right, because
But if you get a
forbearance,
job, but if you are not working in residency and you decide to do all these other things that you want to do, is doing those things, whatever you want to do, going to give you enough money to live, pay
right.
for electricity, live and still make the minimum payments on your loans?
So here,
That's the key. And if that's the case, then I would just say make the minimum payments and don't go into forbearance.
so can he do income-based loan repayment?
Well, hopefully he's already signed up for that, right?
Right.
So hopefully he's already signed up for income based, but that's based off of you coming down to 60 grand, 70 grand a year. But what happens now that you're at zero?
Zero.
Right?
Right. Because I'm assuming the residency program isn't paying him.
No.
Right. Like they're not going to pay him for not working. So now he's down to zero. But what if he did something like Teach America and he got, like a stipend of, I don't know, let's say 30,000. I have no clue. Right. Then he's bringing in income. Could at that point he do income-based loan repayment? And because it's Teach America, we just use that as an example. We don't know whether or not he's doing that. But if you were to do that, then would that qualify as a year towards PSLF as well?
Well,
What is it called? Public service.
If he did something with Teach America, that'd be nonprofit,
right,
or governmental work. So
right.
that would count as PSLF. And then technically, if he's doing that, then he could reapply for them to recalculate his payments based off of his change in his income. So that's a really good question.
Yeah.
But to me, based off of what he's saying, it's sounding like, yo, I want to do something that's like epic.
Yeah.
And I want to do this before I start my residency, which is what I would do. If I had the knowledge now, and been able to take it back to where you're at, I'd be like, yo, go do something epic. Go work with some people that you really admire. Go travel or whatever it may be. Try to bring some income in on the side because you ain't going to be able to do that again.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it.
I think that's a really good thought for him as well. Because I do think people get stuck with, oh my God, I'm a doctor and this is all I know. This is all I know. And then they don't realize that there are so many other talents, so many other interests that they might have, and that they may be able to eventually merge with that, with medicine.
But they don't really advertise that, right? Like it's not really out there for people to this is the situation that is being presented to us right now
is unique.
Is extremely unique, right? Like most people who finish most people who finish their intern year and get accepted into a residency, they're just continuing in as either a year 2 or that program is like, bump that, you coming back down to year one with us.
Right.
Right. So that could be the case also. So
So I think I think it's a really interesting situation for him. I agree with you. I think he should take advantage of it if he's able to take advantage of it, especially loan free.
What would you do?
See, I think it would be difficult for me because I had loans.
That was about to be you, actually.
Well, that was about to be me.
Yeah.
But
Renee almost got kicked out of her program.
I didn't get kicked. I left my program. I literally quit. What are you talking about?
You can't hack it, yo. You out.
Anyway, why are you always lying on this podcast though? Why?
I be potting.
Yeah, like potting equals lying. I don't get it.
I didn't say that. I just said I'd be potting.
Okay. Anyway, so that would have been tough, right? That would have been tough. But at the time that I quit my residency, I was looking for other residency programs, but I also was looking for other opportunities that were not necessarily clinical, but were adjacent to medicine, or things that I could merge with medicine. So, it didn't pan out that I ended up leaving my residency
Oh wait,
in
didn't you?
total.
Is that when you were
But
considering the Satcher Fellowship at that point? Or no?
no. Sasha Fellowship was like 2-3 years later. And you
I know
couldn't get
me.
into the Thatcher Fellowship until you graduated from
I know
residency
me, man.
anyway.
I would have started working at like the Sports Authority,
Basically, Foot Locker.
Foot Locker.
I'm back.
Hey, I'm from Jersey, Wawa. Hey, yo,
You-
let me get something. Hold me down for like a year. If you know, you know. You from right? When you come from a certain class, you know there's certain jobs. No matter where you are in your life, you can always go back and get a job. Yeah, let me go back to Wawa. Let me go to Sports Authority, East Hanover. Let me go to all these.
So MD Money Mentor says, I would definitely travel and enjoy that year off, but then again, you need some money, right? Because how can you travel without money, right? So I agree with you. You definitely need some money. So I mean, that's the balance. I mean, unless you have some trust fund somewhere, which he might have, he might have a trust fund. Or he might have loans. So that part we don't really know, but whatever you do, let us know what you end up doing. We would love to hear it.
So listen, just write to us and let us know. We saw your stuff. I saw the rest of your message.
Yeah, and we'll get back to you on that.
We're interested in that. So just write to us and let us know, and we'll make it work.
Yeah.
All right. What's the next question?
So the next question, let's see. Let's open it up here. The next question, will you stop with that daggone kangaroo hop, is about hoping to do locums in the interim. All right. Oh, it's addressed to me. Hello, Dr. Renee, and not Dr. Nee. I hope all is well. It is. It's very good with me, Dr. Renee. I'm a new grad OBGYN and just graduated residency. I'm delaying starting a full-time position until January and am hoping to do locums in the interim. Do you know good agencies for OBGYN locums? Also, do you have any advice for a new grad going into locums? Looking forward to hearing from you. Thank you for being a resource. And
can I answer
that's
this?
Dr. Z.
Can I answer this?
Yes.
This is a real easy question.
What?
Just go locums and don't ever go back. I'm telling you right now, everybody should have either 100% or 50% or 75% or 10%. I don't care. Every doctor in some form or fashion should be an independent contractor. For those who are listening right now and don't know what independent contracting is or locums is, basically it's you work for yourself. You don't have a boss, and you go through either an agency or you basically directly contract yourself with a hospital, and you just say, hey, I'm going to work X amount of days this month, and you're going to pay me X amount of dollars, and there's no taxes that are taken out, and that's it. And initially, like back in the 80s and 90s, people used to always look down on locums doctors who worked that because they're like, oh, you can't work anywhere. And it was always a bunch of bad advice. And even in the 2000s, it was the same thing. And now everybody's doing locums. All those people who say don't do locums, low key.
Even then they are doing locums.
So coming out of fellowship, so
yes,
I did 5 years of general surgery, and then I did a year of trauma surgery. And I just was having a hard time trying to find a job. Anybody who knows me knows I can't commit. And I just wasn't trying to commit to no 3 to 5 years. Meanwhile, I'm trying to commit to this, right?
What is this? This?
Hey.
I'm a this now?
Listen, we don't need your laughter, guys. We need your support.
Oh,
right?
Lord.
We made it through it, and we still together.
Oh,
right?
Lord.
But damn sure I wasn't committing to a job.
I'm blinking, y'all.
I was not committing to no job for no 3 to 5 years. So this wonderful woman, this queen here, my Michelle, my Coretta.
That one.
My Coretta. You're my Coretta. Hey, change that to Dr. Jonathan Majors.
Don't do it.
Dr. Renee, you're my Coretta. So my Coretta gave me advice to go into, what do you call it? To go into locums. And I was like, I ain't doing it.
Me?
And I did it.
You wrong for that.
My first job, I said, look, I can only work, this amount of time. And they asked for additional time. And I said, I can't do it. And then they paid me, and it was like a great amount of money. And I did it for like a year and a half. And I got flown out for free. I got put in hotels that I didn't have to pay for. They took care of my medical insurance. And I loved it. I loved being a general surgeon and not having a boss. I loved being a trauma surgeon and not really having to worry about, things that I worried about when I was a resident, someone looking over my back or anything like that. I didn't care. Now, one thing that I think a lot of people get concerned about is, well, I'm fresh out of residency, I'm fresh out of fellowship, I need a mentor, or I need, what if I get into a situation that I'm not really comfortable with? That's fair. I think that that's a fair thing to be really concerned about. If you don't feel like, those who are listening to this podcast, like, truly in yourself, if you're ready to go out and practice on your own. Because if you're sick and tired of listening to your attendings, you're pretty much ready to go and do it. If you feel like, I like my attendings, they're kind of cool people, you probably need another year and stuff. When you're really sick and tired of listening to your damn attendings,
That's the bar.
That's the bar that I use.
I'm done with my attendings.
Yes.
Therefore,
most people who are sick and tired of listening to their attendings.
But I like my attendings is
like, would you shut up? That's when you're ready, right?
Really? That's so this. When you say to your attending, or at least in your head, to your attending, would you shut up?
Yes.
That's when you're ready to go?
Yes.
Okay.
So low key, there was a couple of times.
I don't know if that's the real bar, y'all.
I'll tell you right now, you guys are trained. You're well trained. You got this. But there was I probably said like 4 or 5 times during that year and a half where I literally had to call one of my attendings at like 3 a.m. And you know what they did? They picked up the phone and they gave me advice. And that was it. And I moved on. The world didn't stop. The patient did well. And there were some other times where when I was at a locum's place and I happened to be, working with someone who was a little bit more senior with me, I asked them a question and kind of moved on. There were some other times where I could see that if I asked a certain type of question, that could be used against me. So you have to be really careful about that. Some people are either fearful of you coming because they're concerned that you're going to take their job, or they're just resentful that you're getting paid more than what they're getting paid.
And that you have your own schedule.
That could be a concern. So you got to be really careful about that. And sometimes some people get concerned about the instability. But I really feel like nowadays, like it's like doing a consent for surgery on a patient. Like, this is the way in which I want it to go, but I just got to tell you about these small little infinitesimal things that are low risk that could happen, right? And I think most of the things that people inflate as, you got to worry about this, you got to worry about that, you got to worry about always looking for a job every 2 days and stuff like that. That stuff doesn't happen quite as often as you think it's going to happen. Yeah. I think the whole concept of you being in control of your schedule, you getting paid very well, you being very fulfilled, and you feeling like you're your own boss, those far outweigh the concerns that you have in your mind or something that your attendings may have told you, and they've never even done locum. So I've talked enough.
You really did, and you didn't even answer the question.
Okay. I know.
You talked a whole hell of a lot.
I know.
And you did not even touch the question. The question was, what's the locum tenens agencies out there? Can you at least share the locum tenens agencies that we use?
Oh, so I used Weatherby.
Step 1, answer the question.
And then I used what was the second one I used?
You ever use Comp Health?
Yeah, Comp Health.
I
use them. Weatherby. So right now, I don't use any locums companies right now, but I use Weatherby. I've recommended Weatherby to a couple of people. But I think the best place to go to learn about locums, to learn about, how much people in your field are getting paid, to find out like details about subspecialties and medical malpractice, taxes, or just in general about all the other types of locum agencies. Low key, this is not being sponsored at this time. I would say check out locumstory.com. I think that's the best place to go to. Locumstory.com by far has the best information out there, and that's where I would start.
Yeah. So I used Weatherby, I've used Comp Health, I've used Onyx. Right now, like me
Take
said,
them all. Take them all. Take
when
them all. One gun, two gun, three gun.
okay,
four.
Fredro.
Oh, mine is all about crime.
Okay, sticky fingers.
Honest.
So right now we don't use any locum tenens agencies. When you use a locum tenens agency, just be prepared that you might get lowballed. That's number one. So I think you got to be careful about that. But when you're first starting out, I'm going to tell you right now, as with anything else, even if you were going for a permanent position, you're not going to get, that's not going to be your best contract, if you will, right? If you start out and that's your best contract, then it's kind of like, well, then that actually is never going to be your best contract. So if you just think about it in that way, that it's just kind of taking it and using it as a learning curve, and as you keep going, your contracts will get better, your compensation will get better, all the terms and conditions under which you work will get better. So just know that, that is out there. The unique thing, not unique, because it's not unique to OBGYN, but one of the things about OBGYN that you do need to consider is that you need to get your cases for your board certification. So in OB, we do a written exam followed by an oral exam. You have to take the written exam in 1 year, and then you take the oral exam, I guess, within 5 years of taking the written exam. The thing about the oral exam, though, is that you need to accumulate enough diverse cases to be able to present to, for the exam. And so if you're doing locums, depending on the type of locums that you do, you might or might not have that diversity of cases. So for me, one of the first, it wasn't the first, but one of the first locum stints that I did was actually a long-term locum. So you can do locums in a lot of different ways. You could just do locums on the weekends, which is what I do now. You could do locums like every 2 weeks. You could do locums. It could look any which way. You could do locums for 3 months. One of the first stints that I did was a locum stint for 10 months. And I did full scope OB. So I was doing, seeing patients in the office for GYN as well as for OB. I was doing surgeries. I was doing deliveries. I was doing ER. I was doing all basically full scope OB. It basically was like I was in full scope practice. And I could accumulate cases from that to be able to then present for my exam. So if you're going to do locums and you haven't gotten your board certification just yet, that's one of the things that I would actually think about is about, well, how are you going to get your cases, particularly in OB or and or in any other specialty where you have to collect cases? Because you guys in surgery, you don't have to collect cases, correct?
No, not for board certification. You just need to take a test and written and orals, and then go from there. So, but I would say locumstory.com is a place for you to start. Mm-hmm. I would start there, because then at least you can see where prices and your rates would be going at. Mm-hmm. I think not that I never thought about it, but I think the one thing that's really interesting is I like that point that you mentioned, which is you got to start somewhere, because like your first contract is not going to be your best contract when you start working. Like your first job is not going to be your best job. At least you should not be going in thinking it's going to be. Right. I know they're going to try to sell you on that, but just know that this is going to happen multiple times, where you're going to be at a job, you're going to be there for several years, maybe even shorter. You're going to leave, go to the next one. That's just the name of the game now. Mm-hmm. And same thing with locums. Like the first job you take, like you should not like cut your nose off to spite your face because you really want that perfect gig. It doesn't work like that. You got to know how the rates work. You got to know, okay, if I am getting paid this and I go into a place and now I'm doing all of this work, if they got me doing gallbladders at like 9:00 at night, the rate that you're offering me, that's just not going to cut it. Like the rent is too damn high. So maybe you come back and say, hey, like you need to pay me like $500 more a day or something like that. Mm-hmm. You have to start somewhere, a reference point. Right. So just remember that that's the key, is don't seek out the perfect thing initially. If you got it, that's great. But how would you know unless you do it first?
Right. Exactly.
So
Exactly.
that's my biggest advice,
Yeah.
particularly once you figure out which locums you're going to go with. Don't try to get it all perfect. Just start and move forward. Now, when you get a job, though, like you got to make sure that you are, you're on your P's and you're on your Q's, right? Because leaving, oftentimes, it's a bigger commitment, a little bit harder to leave.
Yeah, it comes with
your first
stipulations.
job. Whereas with locums, you just give them 30 days notice usually and just say,
and stipulations.
I don't want to come back here anymore.
Right. Yeah.
So that's why we like it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So MD Money Mentor says tax benefits are awesome for locums, right? And he says, I just got back from a week of locums.
Yeah, I agree. The tax benefits are great. It's just like having your own business. So if
it
you
is
see
having
a plumber,
your own business. It's the new private practice.
See someone who is, I don't know, whatever you could think of, someone who has their own practice, have their own business. All the benefits that you see from there, you would get also. So for us, we have our own health insurance. We have our own health savings accounts. We have our own 401k, like our own 401k, internal 401k that we use, that we just took a loan out to pay for this damn house,
apartment.
Condo. We use it for a whole host of different reasons. But yeah, like there's a lot of benefits to it. But the also thing is there's some work that has to be put in for it. I'm not gonna lie to you. There's some work. There's discussions that I have with our CPA a lot of times. But I'll tell you right now, like if you ever asked me to go back, if I had the choice to go back to either a job that, literally like I had to go back and work and I'm employed versus doing the same exact thing, but knowing that I'm an independent contractor and locums, you can ask anybody.
Yeah.
Even though I'd be doing the same type of work. And oftentimes, I'm not going to lie to you, I work more as a locums.
Yes, you do.
Than I was employed. But I'm just happier knowing that the compensation, the tax benefits, the ability to kind of take time off when I need to take time off for my kids or for my wife or for my family, or to do a medical mission without having to ask anybody.
Yep.
Like to me, I love that part. Having the ability to just say no without knowing that they can't do anything to me is great. And I don't say no often, mainly because I'm not in that type of situation where I have to say no. But I'll be honest with you, I really think that more and more docs, more and more residents need to really consider this way of practicing.
Yeah.
It's the way to go. It's the way to go.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
Anybody got any other questions right now?
Well, if you do have questions, you can always DM us, or you can go to our website?
Yeah.
drnedarko.com.
No.
Wait, because it's not ready yet.
You knew. You acting like Noah Lyles.
Oh, my Lord. Anyway, drnedarko.com. Just do that.
No. Go to Docs Outside the Box.
I just told you it's not ready yet. Go to drnedarko.com.
The website is up.
Is up?
Wait, stop.
It's forwarded?
Yes. Go to docsoutsidethebox.com, please.
Docsoutsidethebox.com. Whatever.
And check us out there, guys.
Check us out. What else can they do? Oh, if you put a question even in the comments, like if you see a post of ours and you want to post a question in there, you can go ahead and do that. So we're gonna try to answer more Q&A. We have a backlog, y'all, of Q&A because
we know everything. We know everything, guys. We know everything.
Anyway, so first of all, this is for your edutainment.
Any question?
Do not listen to him and don't come sue us.
Don't
come sue us. Okay. This is for edutainment purposes only.
All right, here's one. Why do you think some senior attendings try to deter new grads from locums? Easy. They've never done locums before, and all they heard is just really bad things about locums. Yes. So if they haven't experienced it, and as attendings, they always have to have an answer, they're just going to poo-poo and say certain things about it rather than really just investigate or just say, I don't know. So, if you have an attending who's just done academic medicine for their entire career, and then all of a sudden a resident is saying, hey, I'm interested in not going into academic medicine, but I'm interested in just kind of doing some locums for like a year or whatever it may be, the first thing the majority of them will say is, I don't know about that. Like from what I hear, it's hard for them to get a job. You go from job to job to job to job, and people are always asking why you can't keep a job. And I can tell you right now, for the past 10 years practicing, and we've taken most of the places that I've been at and worked at have taken people or trauma surgeons who've worked there initially as locums and have switched over into becoming full-time.
Yeah.
And I can't recall, and I've been in a lot of those interviews, I can't recall any of them looking at the CV of a doctor and saying, oh man, you've done a lot of locums. Tell us why. I mean, the gig is, people know.
The
people
jig
know.
is up.
People know.
Hey,
so
Red, the jig is up.
I don't know why they do that, but I think that that's really bad advice.
Yeah.
First of all, to give someone advice or negative advice on something that you've never experienced before.
Right.
I don't think you should do that at all. Just say, I don't know.
I mean, I think it's the same type of thing, like when people share their stories like mine, right? Where you're pre-med and, you have some sort of hiccup or hurdle or some sort of thing that your pre-med advisors never heard before. And they're like, yeah, no, I don't think you should go into medicine, right? They don't know, right? Like they have not experienced it. They don't actually know what it takes to get into medical school. They don't. So in this case, attendings don't know what it takes to have a career in locums because they never did it. And so they have projected onto their residents what they think that their careers should look like based on the career choices that the attending has made. And attendings will tell you to do exactly what they've done and then complain to you about their own careers, complain to you about their own jobs. So I'm like, so you complaining about your job, but you telling me to do the same thing. So I don't really understand what's going on. And that recently happened to you just, just what, 2 weeks ago?
I'm gonna tell you something right now. So when I told some of my attendings that I was gonna go locums, I think the majority of them discouraged me. And, throughout the years, I was talking to some of them and, why are you doing locums? I don't understand why you're doing locums. Hey, doc, when are you going to just, be out of one place for, once you're going to start working on your career? Yeah, I think if not the majority of them, like all of them, in some form or fashion, has come back and asked me to give them advice on doing locums. Independent contracting. And I think what people are starting to see, like, this is just what happens with medicine now, with healthcare. Like, when you look at a plane or when you look at the airline industry and they look at the plane, like the plane is supposed to do a certain amount of hours, right? Like the wings are supposed to be flying for a certain amount of hours before you replace it, right? Like you can widgetize that, right? The plane doesn't have a spouse, right? The plane doesn't have kids. The wings, have no emotional components. So you can predict exactly what that wing and what that bolt's going to do. What they're trying to do in healthcare is they're trying to predict exactly what you as a clinician, as a doctor is going to do. But it's like, look, like I got to have time off, right? Like I can't work like a wing. And, I think that happens to everybody where they feel like, well, look, this is what I can do. I'm going to work really hard for like 30 years and then I'm going to retire. And it's like, well, what if you get to year 15 and you're burnt out? What you going to do then? And someone's been telling you what to do. So that's why I say, like, with locums, at least you get to like work that energy of saying, yeah, like this is how long I want to work. I want to work for a week out of the month, or I want to work for 4 weeks out of the month. But either way, it's my decision. And if you want to do more, it's on you. If you want to do less, it's on you. It's almost like private practice, but with less responsibility, And people will say, well, why do you say that? I say that because I think that it's the hospital's duty to get all of the equipment, to hire the ancillary staff. But I think it's the doctor's job separately to bring the brain power, right? And to bring the knowledge. And those two are mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
The hospital doesn't own, doesn't know how to treat patients, if you really think about it.
Right.
The doctors do. The doctors don't have enough money to hire and build a hospital and all that stuff. So both of those things should be operating separately. One should not be in control of the other.
Exactly.
That's what I feel about that. But.
Yeah. And I mean,
I'm just a Ghanaian from Irvington, New Jersey. What do I know?
what do you know? Yeah. I mean, just, be careful of people recruiting you into their misery. Because that's what people will do. They will recruit you into their misery. I was just talking with actually, we have a resident on the team here, on the medical mission. And I was talking with her, and she's getting ready to graduate.
Oh, you were talking her head off, man. She was like, yeah.
Anyway, she's getting ready to graduate from OBGYN residency. And one of the things, that I let her know is like, you just got to be careful, because people will be like, oh, come to my hospital, come to my hospital, come to my hospital. We're hiring, we're doing this, we're doing that. And you go and, you have a great visit, and they show you all the houses in the area. Next, you buying a house, you doing all this stuff and setting down roots into this place, and you get there, and the same colleague that was like, oh, you should come here, tells you that they just put in their 3-month resignation notice. So and this has happened.
Guys.
And this has happened.
Stop real quick? So listen, people actually listen to the show.
Yeah. This has happened.
You gonna get me in trouble.
This has happened.
Guys, like the word, like this podcast, and me and Renee, sometimes I feel like, we talk in like a vacuum and shit. And then people a year later say, yeah, I heard that episode where you was talking about me. He's like, oh shit, you listened to this episode? Or 5 years later, you was talking about me. Like, I wasn't talking about you. Yeah, you was talking about me as that attending who never did locums. Oh, that was you? That wasn't me. That was a different need. And I was just potting. So listen, Renee, stop putting my business out there.
And then stop telling me your business.
But I can't.
But that happens.
I can't think of any other job where you go to a job and during your interview for your job, they also take you on a house tour. It's like, come on, man.
They're really trying to rope you in. They're really trying to rope you in. Like, oh, come here, buy a house. It's like
MD Mentor says I was venting. It's true. I was venting.
Yo.
Don't, guys. As I tell Renee, 75% of what I say that comes out of my mouth is bullshit. Wait till the 76%. Once you get to 76% and past that point, it's the truth.
Now it's the truth. Okay, we don't know when we get to that 76%, but yeah, just be careful. People will try to recruit you into their misery, and you need to be able to ask questions. Don't go in even if you're going into W-2, right? And I get it. Locums can be very scary sometimes for people who haven't seen it done before, who've had a lot of things put in their head about locums, and you're not sure. That, okay, fine, I'm going to start at least W-2, and then maybe I'll make my way doing locums, intermittently, and then see if I can do it full time. That's fine too. But you have to be able to ask the right questions, because there are certain questions that if you do not ask, that it's going to be a problem. It's going to be a big problem. What are you doing? Oh, so the time is 12:24 a.m. over here. So he's basically cutting me off. But before we get cut off, I just want to say that we are going to be doing a presentation in conjunction with the Student National Medical Association, LMSA, Latino Medical Student Association, as well as Tour for Diversity. And we're going to be talking about becoming a financially savvy resident. So that's going to be September 10th?
Yes.
I think at 8 p.m. Eastern. So we're going to be doing that presentation live. So
speaking of such, I just talking about shit that we don't know nothing about.
Yeah.
But we're going to be doing a presentation about being a savvy resident, and we don't know shit about that.
Really?
Because we went from $240,000 in debt to $330,000 of that.
To become a savvy financially savvy.
So that's what for grain of salt.
So we're going to share our story. Like I said before, we're going to share our story, right? But we're just going to say, don't do what we did. And then that'll tell you how to be financially savvy.
Where can they find this information?
So we're going to put that in the show notes for this particular podcast episode. But if you go to the Tour for Diversity or T4D or SNMA or LMSA, if you go to their Instagrams especially, then you should start seeing the advertisements for all the different road to residency series presentation. So ours is just one in a series of presentations that's going on for the Road to Residency. So if you are going to become a resident next year, if you're planning on graduating from medical school and going into residency next year, you should be in this series. So I don't think it's too late to sign up. But I do think that you should definitely visit either SNMA, LMSA, or Tour for Diversity IG profiles and
All right, y'all.
sign up.
We out. We gonna talk to y'all later.
He's going to sleep, y'all.
Peace, y'all.
Bye. You gotta end the show. You didn't end the show. You didn't end the show.